Call this meeting of CUB Board of Directors to order. I asked for a motion for approval of the minutes.
I'll make that motion.
Motion, do we hear a second?
Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion approved, passes. Move on to approval of vouchers. Everybody's had an opportunity to review the vouchers. Do I hear a motion to approve the vouchers?
So moved.
Motion needs a second.
Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Now we move on to the approval of monthly reports for January, and I'll turn that over to the general manager.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We continually are doing just extraordinarily well. We're very satisfied with the way the statements look and the fact that we are significantly ahead of our budget in both departments. But I'm going to let Dudley, now that I've gotten all of the great wind out of that, Dud, I'll let you pick up on the factual details.
Okay. Before you have the revenue and expense summary for the year through January 2021. For the month, the electric department had a net income of $753,000. Water and sewer department had a net income of $58,000. The actual year to date is $1.2 million ahead of the forecast in the electric department, and in the water and sewer department it is $85,000 ahead of the forecast. We'll talk just a little bit about that. I like to show you this every month because it's so where all our margin is coming in. Without that long-term partnership credit, that would be $842,000 less. It's hard for me to believe that some utilities have chose not to sign that yet. If you look at the degree days, blue is this year, red is prior year, and yellow is the 15-year average. And you can see the month of December was really good, the month of January was really good, and even the month of February is good. So this has been a really good winter as far as revenue. You know, we're always working we brag on this voltage reduction, our virtual power plant, and that peak shaving, and where that comes into play is TVA builds us on two components. One is the peak, and that's where that virtual power plant comes in, shaving the peak, and the other is the kilowatt hours. And when you have a month like we've had here in the last few months, our load factor was 67% for the month of January. Last year our load factor was 55%, and it's been as low as 49%. So what that means is you have a consistent load, you have a consistent cold month matching a high demand. So when you put those two components together and TVA is billing you on a peak, then you're spreading that over a lot more kilowatt hours, which increases your margin, which is why we had such a great month in January. Now, I will say this. Years ago, CUB was wise enough to put in check meters at our substations, so we make sure that what TVA bills us matches what we think they should bill us. And we did catch one meter at one substation that's running a little behind, so they've been underbilling us a little bit for one of these meters. That's probably going to be $100,000 to $200,000. So that 753 is probably a little bit inflated, and when they look at that, they're going to catch that up. And we've told them, because the last thing you want to do is get down the road and them say, you owe us $7 million. So we tell them as soon as we catch it, but that's why we have those check meters.
Have you started accruing? You're going to accrue any of that and just
No, because it's not material enough at this point. Now, if we got to the end of the year,
Sure.
then we'd have to do something. But they're going to fix it before then.
Some utilities don't have check meters. So when TVA periodically does meter checks, and what they would do is they would find that that's slow. Most of the time when a meter is bad, it gets slower. And then by contract, they go through an algorithm to estimate what the usage would have been based on a lot of factors, which affects the peak, which affects the KWH. And then they come up with this bill, and we go over those numbers to make sure that it's realistic to do that. But because we had suffered that several times, we installed our own meters. So now we're constantly checking to make sure that we're in the same realm of reality on that, and we see that it's dipped down. And so we notify TVA, and of course then TVA is going to check their own meters to make sure that they agree to that. Most companies wouldn't say anything unless they were being overcharged. We say it whether they underbill us or whether they overbill us, because all we want is it to be correct. And that way there's no surprises down the road, 11 months with a slow meter, and then all of a sudden, you know, you based your budget and everything on a faulty revenue stream. So I don't know if it'll be 200,000, but it'll be something.
Somewhere in that area, I think 100,000 to 200,000 based on what we're calculating. But that's okay, because if you look at the actual year-to-date number, we're ahead of the budget for the entire year, so I feel good about this year. I always say that I've been here 40 years, and you either have a extreme winter and a mild summer, or a mild winter and an extreme summer. Rarely do you get extreme and extreme, or mild and mild. So I'm anticipating the summer will be a little mild. That's just my crystal ball and you know, the way I see things. But still going to be a great year for us. Good. That's all I've got, Mr. Chairman, unless there's anything you want to ask.
Any questions? Hearing none, we ready to move to project status reports?
You want to approve?
Oh, excuse me, I'm sorry, thank you. Do I hear a motion to approve the monthly reports for January?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Motion and a second, any discussion?
Proactive. These guys have, I mean, not just in Flizzard, but I mean, that right there tells you got people looking out for work to do what's right in areas that's the word, proactive. You guys are great.
Thank you.
I'm telling
Thank you.
Any other discussion or comments? All in favor?
Hey, Zach?
Yes, sir.
At some point tonight, I would like to relay a conversation I had with a CUB customer. It doesn't have to be right now, but before the end of the night, it's an interesting conversation about Blizzard and the fact that he's a very end-of-the-line customer out off Miller Road, and the very, very few instances he's ever had an outage. But anyway, just save me a point.
I will.
Tell you about that.
I got you written down in other business in item 9.
Okay.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Now we will move on to project status report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We're tracking in electric, we're tracking 4 work orders. The Martin Road and the Riverside Drive line upgrades are nearing completion. We anticipate that they'll be completed as scheduled, and we're confident that they'll be close to what we budgeted. We've got 2 additional work orders, work order 1244 and 1260. This involves aerial cable on Farmer Holler and Carroll Holler Road, and we anticipate beginning construction on both of those probably later this month. So unless you've got any other questions about the electric project status, I'll move on to water, if that's all right.
Any questions? Hearing none, proceed, please, sir.
Thank you. In water, we have we've been working on this water collective system in North Main, where we're trying to repair a dog leg in there to alleviate a situation that's been nagging us for years, and that's going very well. We've got it down as 95% complete. We've now got agreement with TDEC when we can pave that thing, and we look forward to it being, the project being fully completed by the end of the month.
Any questions? Move on to approval of work orders.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The first work order that I would like to recommend to you is Work Order 1259 in the electric. It involves aerial cable on the West Broad Street. It's a little over a half a mile that's going to be replaced. This gives us, again, we always look at capacity and build and for flexibility to work with our Flizzer system. We budget this project for $150,000, and after the estimated 10% contingency, we anticipate it to come in at $157,157. And I recommend that the board approve Work Order 1259 for this much-needed work on West Broad Street.
Do I hear a motion to approve?
Make that motion.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Moving on to the next one.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is in our Water Department, Work Order 980. And this project deals with quality of service. We have identified a 6-inch water line that needs to be enlarged to provide a better volume in that area. This is a budgetary item. We budgeted $100,000 for this. When we add the contingency, it'll push it to $119,000. We'll be doing what's called boring under the road. By doing this, it's going to, hopefully with bore and jacks is what we call it, they'll do this trenchless pipe insertion, and we hope to minimize the effects on 25W. But this project falls in line with where we identify areas that need improvement that are not critical in the moment, but over time they will be a significant issue, especially if there's any growth out that way. And ever since we took over First Utility District many years ago, we have been identifying and pouring money in section by section in order to improve that whole system out there. And this is just one more peg in that board to get done. And I recommend the board approve 980 in the Water Department.
Do you hear a motion to approve?
So moved.
Do you hear a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. We move on to the award of water distribution system improvements.
This ties in with the work order that the board has just approved, and it's going to relocate a 6-inch water line with a new 8-inch water line. It'll be contracted in Hearst. Although we sent out a lot of bids, Hearst was the only one that gave us a bid that I would like for the board to consider. We consider it reasonable, and I ask that the board award this contract to Hearst Excavating for $99,000.
Do I hear a motion to approve?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
With a motion and a second, is there any questions or discussions? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Motion carries. And before I turn it over to the general manager, at this point with other business, I would like to turn it over to Steve Combs. Steve?
I'll try to explain this as tersely and shortly as I can. You know, we had a discussion a month or two ago about the the positive aspects of finding somebody in the media to do some sort of report or story or presentation on the technical aspects of CUB and how they've been so successful. A friend of mine out on Miller Road last week, I mean, he's, last house on the line probably, the one who you would expect to be out of service more frequently than anybody else. I was out there helping him do something that was happening to his house, and he and I got talking about CUB. And he was already impressed with the fact that, based on his previous life experiences, how reliable CUB power was. And I got to talking to him a little bit about Flizzer and some of the things that CUB did and how they made sure that his power was reliable and consistent. And it was amazing to me about he had absolutely no idea of what was entailed in all of that and why his power was so reliable. And I guess it goes back to what we talked about a few weeks ago or months ago about we need to get somebody to tout the things that CUB has done and make the world aware of them.
I concur. I've had that conversation with the general manager multiple times that we've done so well, but where we've not done real well is we're not real good about telling our story or bragging on ourselves. And I think that's largely because we're too busy rolling up our sleeves and getting to work. But I agree wholeheartedly that that we need to, and a part of that is our job as board members to do that, to be ambassadors for the utility and let people know. And it's a much more satisfying and easier job to tell the success stories than to be reactive and deal with the negative individuals that are out there, because there's way more positive, and it's by a large margin, right? And so I agree with you, Steve, and maybe that's something that we can focus on, and whether it's letters to the editor and the Courier.
Part of the problem is, at least in my perspective, we don't have a newspaper in this area within 100 miles that's worth starting a fire with. The Courier is such limited distribution. The Oak Ridge is focused on Oak Ridge. The Knoxville News Sentinel, again, it's not worth starting a fire with.
Yeah.
So what the proper media is to get to tout TVA, I'm not sure I'm aware of that.
We're going to get you an Instagram account. Steve, that's what we're going to do. We'll get you an Instagram account, maybe a TikTok or something like that.
Well, I can tell you,
Well, I'll be honest with you. I don't Twitter. I don't do any of that stuff.
we have, and agree, as we have in the past when this subject has come up, we haven't done, because that's really not part of what it takes to run the company, is to raising the flag, and it's difficult to do. It's difficult not to come off as a grandiose, with that kind of an attitude. But it's not like I haven't heard where you would like the direction to go. And I can tell you what I have done and changes that I have made is I make now myself available and the company available. On the 24th of this month, for example, we are hosting the leadership of Anderson County.
Yeah.
These are the future leaders, business leaders, and now we've done that for several years to try to get the word out locally. is the only impact, that the understanding of the excellence and the uniqueness that we have here at Cub. If they understand that locally, it makes it easier for all of us, because part of that is a political buffer. Our customers in all 6 counties that we serve give us compliments all the time about the quality of service and our interactions.
They do,
Yes, sir.
they do, but I'm not sure they understand the
No,
structure that has been
they
put
don't.
in place to give them that quality service.
You're exactly right, and they don't care. I mean, as long as the lights are on, or when there's a big storm, and they know that their neighbors, almost every storm, Cub sends out our crews to neighboring utilities. I mean, we've been in Plateau 3 times in the last month. I mean, I get calls at 6 o'clock in the morning, which, by the way, don't call me at 6 in the morning, but because they're in trouble and they're looking for help, and we always try to help. I look at my system first.
But I'll also think about a company or a family or a group of people that were looking for a place to set down roots. Why wouldn't you want to look hard at a place that had such reliable utility service at the rates that we can provide?
We do better with industry recruitment, because as I entertain prospects up in our command center up there, that's one of the things that we talk about, the reliability, if they're looking to go into the I-75 industrial park. I think we've had 2 outages since we've energized out there, and back in 06, and of course they validate that with Ishin and SL and others. That serves better. Under your scenario, Steve, if that was the case, everybody that lives in Hardin Valley would move to our system. You say, if that was an issue.
My only concern is that just with a limited number of examples, it amazes or frustrates me that people don't really understand how they're getting such reliable service.
Well, I can understand that, Steve, because even those on the board have had a difficult time, grasping the technology behind what we do. It takes me 70 slides to even get the beginnings of that concept over there. What I'll do for the Anderson County leadership next week, or the 24th, is I'm going to try to give them skirt on the very top, just to give them a sense of the fact that in the valley, we don't know of anyone other than Chattanooga, which got a $112 million grant for it, but we still don't know of anybody in the country that has done what we've done here. So they understand phrases like that, and we try to send that out to them. And
I understand it, but it's one thing for Greg to say that.
right.
It's another thing for Southern Living or USA Today or local newspaper to print a big article and explain that to the world.
Well, we've been in trade magazines, and we've been across the country. We've been in Texas and California, and we've given seminars. What we offer for free, which is another big thing, because we're committed to public power. Anyone that wants to take a hold of this, we want to help shepherd them in how to do it. But the problem is there is a tremendous monetary cost to it, and it's not a revenue stream. It's about quality of service, and most folks can't equate with spending money without getting the monetary return on that investment. We look at it, and that's why we've done it over all of these years. We make contributions every year, like we've done this year, like we do when we upgrade our conductor. We do that thinking of how that's going to impact our system. All of these devices that we put out at $30-some thousand a pop, we've done in pieces over the years, so we'll have, in time, we have that infrastructure out there to support what we do. When you've got good friends and capable folks like Oak Ridge and Knoxville and Memphis and Nashville, all of the big ones, and they're still dealing with mechanical meters. KUB is just now putting out the meters that will let them know if there's power on at that house. That is the very first step of a stairway of the technology that's necessary in order for them to do what we're doing, because they've got to know what's going on at the house. So newspapers like Knoxville, they're not interested in what CUB is doing. But TVPPA, EDPDA, ADPDA, EDA, every letter that you can think of, we've been in their literature, and they've addressed and acknowledged what we're doing here at CUB.
Steve, what I think going forward, having gone through Anderson County leadership some years ago, I think that's important because Rick Meredith is growing that program, and they're bringing and recruiting a lot of people from outside this county to be a part of leadership Anderson County, and those tend to be influential centers of influence. And I think as we just continue bit by bit, also I envision once we get on the other side of COVID, maybe doing a partnership with doing a chamber coffee. I don't know when's the last time we've had a chamber coffee.
We've had them, but I don't even know if it was coffee then.
Yeah.
It's been that long.
And so again, and even then, I think, I know like the one at Fox Toyota was always a well-received one. The one at Powell Clinch Utility District, I know when I was active in the chamber. And those also tend to be the type of people that you like to see. I think I'd like at some point to get Greg to come talk to our Rotary when Rotary's up and going. That would be good. And I think we just have to take it. The best, to me, the best advertising is word of mouth, and it's hard to beat word of mouth. And while I would like to have a big media splash, I think that we would be better served putting our efforts in just educating our neighbors. But very good point, Steve. Anything else you have on that?
Well, the only person at the News Sentinel that I trust is Sam Venable. I wouldn't mind talking to him.
Well, I have at it. If you have success, great. But
He's the only one I trust too, just to be clear.
yeah. Anything else on that, Steve?
No, I just wanted to express an opinion.
Yeah, no, opinions are welcome. It's one I share. With that, I'll turn it back over to General Manager for other business.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. To keep you all up to date, you'll remember on January the 11th, I told you that 4 local power companies, LPCs, filed a complaint and a petition against TVA, Athens, Gibson, Joe Wheeler, and Volunteer. And what they want to do is they want TVA to provide transmission access across the valley so they can buy on the spot market KWH, because there are times, because you can't store this stuff, when you can get that at 1.5 cents a KWH, which is all great, but then they want to come back to TVA when that market goes up, and then they want the flat retail rate or wholesale rate that all 153 LPCs enjoy. That is a threat to the public power model, and what you get into is what they, in ERCOT, what they went to in Texas and California, where I know I heard that some got $16,000 and $17,000 bills because they pay for the cost of electricity when it's used, whatever that cost, and where we're paying, maybe 6.5, 7 cents a kWh, they were paying $50 and $60, for a kWh. So that system doesn't work, is what I'm trying to say. So we are opposed to that. And if you remember, I told you that it was my hope that we could get a coalition of LPCs to support that. And I'm happy to say is now that has grown to 85. So now we've got 85 LPCs supporting that position. And we helped design a response to FERC. They sent us out a draft and we made comments here, and they incorporated that into the draft that was sent. So all of that's going very well. I'm very optimistic that in the end it'll all turn out in favor of the public power model through TVA that we currently have now. And I'll continue to keep you up to date on that, since CUB has such an active role in that. And finally, last week, representing APPA, TVPPA, and TVA, I participated in a virtual meeting with Senator Bill Hagerty and his staff, Senator Marsha Blackburn and her staff, as well as Congressman Flashman. And we discussed, obviously, the FERC issue, and we also discussed, among other things, municipal bonds and how important they are for the tax status for us, and the fact that we want very much to be able to call some of the debt, not necessarily for CUB, but for utilities in the valley, to call that debt in order to capitalize on these historic low rates. So that went very well, but still it's not like meeting in person, and hopefully next year we'll be able to meet in person, which will also get me in the vicinity of the granddaughter, so that won't be a bad thing. And that's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Is there any other business to come before this board? Hearing none, we will adjourn.